which sucks. So, and I don't. They were trying to make their own tech to make their own engine, which again I wouldn't recommend at this day and age because you have
the
Unreal.
Curse of all studios.
Dude, you have Unreal, you have Unity, you have all these other things, and at the time there were even more that have since passed on. But really, that was their big thing. They're like, oh, we're gonna make this, and their tech was not good. Even the engineers that are working on it, they're like, we know it's shit. Sorry, right?
They're just doing their job at that point. They're like, hey, they want us to make things fly.
Yeah,
make them fly.
And even they had to the owner of the company. They had said, well, why don't we just use Unreal? And he's like, well, then why would I hire you guys? Right?
That's so messed up. He should have just listened. A lot of people, or not people, but a lot of studios do that where they will start working on those projects just to get by, but then try to make their own engine. I have been in studios where they take on small projects like that, but they always have that goal of like, we're going to do our own thing. And they would have a few people every now and then when there's a little bit of downtime, add a little bit more artwork, add a little bit more animation, add a little bit more code to it. Let's get some more functionality in there. Okay, let's go back. We got 3 more titles that's going to help pay the bills for the next year. We're going to have 2 months off. We're going to spend that 2 months on working on our own project. And so I have seen that work.
You're talking about Psyonix
dangerous.
right now. Psyonix, who did Rocket League, that's what they did, right? They had this game that they wanted to make, and they would make things for other companies, and they were like, if we do this multiplayer thing, if we do this thing for this other company, if we do this port, if we do these things, then it allows us to make our things in our free time, our passion project.
Yeah, and they did it right. They made something, and then when they put that Rocket League out, they just kind of put it out. They gave it away. I remember when I got it, it was because they were doing the PS4 launch of it, and it was like, it's free for like, I think a week or 2 weeks, and then they kept it free, and then they were like, once that goes away, you still keep it. You don't have to just up and pay. Yeah. And they just got bought by, I think, Epic, right? Epic, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. But they did it right. But they were also using the Unreal Engine, right? Yeah. They didn't make their own
That's true.
thing. And so anyway, they did it the smart way. The company I was at did not. So I'd worked there. The first game that I worked on there, and actually, so to get me there, I flew there, I talked to them, and they said, okay, well, right now we're in talks with Midway, who are not around anymore, but they said we're working on a pitch basically, and we pretty much got it for Smash TV. So
you mean Smash TV, like the top-down
yes.
one that they had in arcades back in the day?
Yes, the top-down sort of. They had it on the NES. They had it in the arcades.
Yeah.
And
shoot 'em up.
Yeah, it was a shoot 'em up. It was kind of a bullet hell, old school
twin stick.
Yes, and so hearing this, I was like, oh man, I loved that game when I was a kid. If I got to work on the modern version of that sounds really cool. So I took the job. And I moved. I packed all my stuff. My wife, who was going to school and was my fiance at the time, was going to school out here. So she stayed in California while I went out there, which sucked. Okay. Right. So I'm apart from my fiance, and I move all my stuff over a weekend. I throw it in my house, and I start on the Monday that I get there.
Wow.
And the first thing I hear when I get in there, they're like, "Hey, welcome aboard. We didn't get Smash TV."
Oh God, you're like, that's what I came here for. Wait, you're telling me, do I have a job? Is that what the next question was?
That was my next thing. I'm like, should I be worried? And they said, don't worry. We've got a couple other possibilities, and we have a pretty much definite one that we're going to take, which is Major League eating the game. I was like,
wow.
It's shit.
You didn't feel too good.
No.
I'm pretty sure you didn't feel too good moving there and getting that.
I went into my car. And
Did you cry? Did you cry?
No, God, no. I screamed. I was just like, fuck. I was just so angry. And I was like, I just moved across 3 states to work on Major League eating the game. Cool. So.
Hey, man, but you never know. It is different back in the day, but you never know. That could come out now and be a fucking hit. And you'd be like, oh my God, it's so random, my success.
Funny you say that. Apparently they re-released it on mobile, and it did okay, I guess, hearing about it. So they literally they just ported it to mobile, took all the assets, put it in, and it's pretty much the same game. So
they're probably like, who's laughing now, Frost? We heard you in your car.
It was terrible, man. The publisher that had pitched it had said, we want to make a game that's like a mix of DDR, Mario Kart, and Street Fighter Alpha.
Okay.
And I was like, how are those games related in any way?
Yeah. That's weird.
And so they said, well, we want it to be competitive. So we want it to be like a fighting game kind of, or competitive in some sort of way. And, like Mario Kart has power-ups and DDR has like fun dance mechanics. And this is for the Wii. So they wanted it on the WiiWare. Which is
So you could still like use the sensory controllers and do stuff. Okay.
So they were like, yeah, it's kind of DDR and kind of Mario Kart with power-ups, but then like Street Fighter because it's like PvP a little bit. And so inside my head, I'm like, I'm just dying inside, right? Because I'm like, why? This sounds so stupid, right? And the IP is terrible, right? And so I'm like, okay, but we had to make something, right? Because they're paying us to do this. And so the thing that we ended up coming out with was basically there's a pile of food and power-ups pop up. And when you eat the food, they either go onto your plate or your opponent's, and then you can use them, right? So you can like burp in people's faces, and you're trying to make them throw up, right? So you'd have to. Oh
wow! So that's like it's a game for like kids. Then was your audience like little kids?
Yeah.
That thought like, oh, you burped.
Yes, exactly. It was like, can we do disgusting stuff? They're like, oh yeah, because they had terms for like if you threw up. It was the reversal of fortune was like a thing that they would.
Oh wow!
They would call it that in the show.
So it was like pre-achievements. That was an achievement you could get. Okay.
Well, it was,
achievements weren't around yet.
You don't want to have a reversal of fortune. It was actually the opposite of the achievement. It was game over if you did that. So you would, but there was like an antacid power up, so it would like calm down your stomach. So you had to keep your stomach down, but then you also had to like try to make your opponent throw up, but then also try to get the highest amount of food that you're eating. So it was this balancing act between these three things.
I think the thing that might have been missing is that it just needed a successful IP overlay. Like that could work with The Simpsons. That could work with Futurama.
Totally.
It would have totally been successful.
If the game controls were also not great, right? Because the sensory, it was like to eat, you would literally just go like this with the remote, and you chew by like hitting the thing, right? So you're just going like this, and then you would have to like shake your stomach and go like that. And then they had different food types. So you had like the corn one where you go like this, and it was just so bad. Right?
Or Wario. Wario would have made that sell like crazy.
I agree.
WarioWare.
The core game loop is actually not bad, right? It's a balancing mechanic game where you're trying to make somebody lose, right? It's a party game. It's very like whatever. But watching, this is like what I was dying inside even more. We went through that whole painful process of making this game with a piece of software that was not great. And then we got it done and we shipped it, and the studio was just happy that we didn't get it canceled, right? Mm-hmm. Like they were like, "Good job, you guys! I can't believe you did. The game was fun." And it's like it wasn't that great. I don't know why anybody's happy. And then reading the reviewers, it was just the worst thing because you have these guys on IGN. You can tell, like I could just see the IGN room of writers who are going like, "Okay, you get Metal Gear Solid, you get Castlevania, you get Halo, you get Major League Eating," and that guy was like, "Fuck,
damn it, Major League Eating, God damn it, right?"
Ronnie got Halo, and I get Major League, right? So it's just reading all these articles. It was just they were like, "Why would you ever make this game? This game is terrible. The graphics are awful. Is this right?" Just going through. And in a lot of cases, they weren't wrong, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, if the IP was different, I guarantee it would have been a higher score because gamers don't care about Major League Eating the game. Nobody cares about Major League Eating the game that's in this.
But the audiences that would have liked like that overlay of like Simpsons or Futurama or whatever it was, you already have like, even though it's for kids or they may have thought their audience was for kids, you're gonna have the 20 to 30-year-old crowd that watches those shows that would have been like, "Oh, this is hilarious! I'm gonna play this game now." Right. Even if it's just to buy it and play it and then never play it, or like you said, I think they put it on mobile.
Yeah.
I mean, people would eat that up. It'll probably do well now.
I'd have to look it up because I saw that it was on mobile and
might have to buy the IP.
I'm gonna have to go for it. It's probably not expensive. But yeah. So anyway, I learned a lot from that.